Hello and welcome to another mod showcase episode for Kerbal Space Program. Today I will show you a tool named Kerbal Alarm Clock. I intend to show you why this is much more than your usual alarm clock, so stay tuned. After KSP installation is completed, you will notice a new symbol in Space Center view when starting a new game. Click it and the window opens. All reminders for this save game will be listed here, and all further options are accessible from here as well. Because some options are only visible when using an active ship in space, we will jump right to a small vessel in Kerbal orbit. Clicking on current time at the bottom of the window will display the real time of your computer. Useful if you want to set a real time reminder. The first switch from the right, labeled Add, opens the menu for adding reminders. There are different types to choose from. Raw time alarm lets you set a reminder on a specific time and triggers it accordingly. Maneuver node alarm refers to the next maneuver node and triggers an alarm when reaching that node, or a set time before that. Apoapsis alarm refers to the maximum and minimum distance orbit to a reference object, meaning one can set an alarm on reaching the highest or lowest altitude in orbit. Ascending node alarm refers to the inclination to a reference orbit. Whenever you choose an object orbiting the same planet on a different trajectory, you will be able to set an alarm whenever both orbits intersect on your orbital plane. This is the best time to match the inclination of both orbits if you want to intercept the target. Closest approach alarm calculates when the distance to a target will be smallest and triggers an alarm reaching that moment. SOI change alarm refers to the sphere of influence of celestial bodies. If we launch a spaceship to another celestial body, we will eventually reach the sphere of influence of the target. We can set the alarm to remind us when the transition happens. Transfer window alarm allows us to set reminders for the optimal timing for a planetary transfer, meaning when it is best to launch a spaceship to the desired celestial body. Crew alarm lets us bind a reminder to a Kerbal. Whenever the alarm is triggered, we will be able to jump to the Kerbal in question. Raw time alarm triggers an alarm at a specific time. We can choose from two settings: in-game time or passage of time in hours, minutes, and so on. Maneuver node alarm refers to a flying object and its trajectory. If we put a node in the trajectory while in map mode, this node can then be set as an alarm, meaning we can be reminded of the need of doing a maneuver. We can even set how long before we want to be reminded. If we use multiple nodes, only the closest node will be available as alarm. In the options, however, under Specifics 2, you can enable automatic node detection. This will detect the next node on the trajectory and setting an alarm automatically every time you set a node, fly by a node or delete a node. Another option will delete alarms for nodes automatically from the alarm list whenever a node on a trajectory gets deleted. Apoapsis alarm can recognize 2 points in time, reaching of the apoapsis and periapsis. Apoapsis describes the highest point in orbit of the reference object, while periapsis describes the counterpoint, the lowest point in orbit. Practically speaking, if we are in an elliptical orbit around Kerbin and the highest point above surface is 200 kilometers, then this is the apoapsis. If we never fall below 80 kilometers, then this is called periapsis. These two values represent the moment for the most efficient change of orbital altitude. Ascending node alarm takes into account the inclination of the own orbit in relation to the target orbit. If an object orbits the same planet as our vessel, their orbits will intersect twice. One time you will ascend above the orbital plane of the other vessel, and the other time you will descend below it. These intersections are best used to adjust the inclination of a vessel's orbit in relation to its target to intercept it, for example. We can both choose the intersection for the reminder and how long before reaching it we want to be reminded. Closest approach alarm calculates the time of the smallest approach to a target object, meaning when we are as close as possible or when we reach a previously defined target distance. There are two options to choose from. Closest automatically displays the nearest approach. Target distance lists objects to choose from and for which we can choose a desired distance. If the selected object is in orbit around the same planet, the program calculates when the smallest approach is achieved. We can take up to 20 orbits into account for the calculation. If the selected object is a celestial body on which we want to land, we can enter the height of the atmosphere and be warned if the entry is imminent. SOI change alarm, the acronym standing for Sphere of Influence, means spheres of influence of celestial bodies, in our case the influence of gravity. Whenever our trajectory intersects a new SOI, it will be detected and we can set an alarm for the time of transition. In the options under Specifics 1, we can automate this process by using the Detect and Add Alarms for SOI Changes switch. The option Auto Recalc of SOI Manual Alarms constantly recalculates the values. This should be enabled unless it's causing performance problem. Auto Recalc of Transfer Points activates the recalculation for transfer windows. Transfer window alarm means an optimal period of time for starting an acceleration towards a celestial object, Since planets and moons have different orbits, these time windows are constantly changing. The tool can recognize this and compensate for it with two models provided by the community, labeled as model and formula. A transfer is planned as follows: setting of the parent object, meaning the body that start and end points are orbiting around, for example the Sun. Then you choose the starting body, for example Kerbin, and finally the target body, for example Duna. Now we can set the alarm and will be notified when the transfer window opens. Crew alarm lets us bind a reminder to a Kerbal. Whenever the alarm is triggered, we will be able to jump to the Kerbal in question. The video description provides links to the mod and further information.